Could a $25 an hour minimum wage be coming to California soon? We've got the latest. Plus, parents win a big victory in a California courtroom. All that and more coming up. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and these are the stories we're covering today. First up, you just saw the implementation of a reckless, costly, and job-killing minimum wage bill on April 1st. It's the restaurant $20 an hour minimum wage bill in the state of California. And that minimum wage bill has already resulted in massive price spikes in fast food restaurants, in retail chains across the state of California, as well as destruction of jobs. Last week, we brought you the report showing a 5 to 10% increase in menu prices at a variety of fast food restaurants, including Wendy's and Chipotle, as the minimum wage increase is being passed on to you, the California consumer. We've always covered on this podcast the folly, the economic negligence of a minimum wage increase. It never actually helps the people that it's designed to help. It only increases inflation, and it only results in the destruction of jobs. We've also pointed out that minimum wage jobs are not jobs that we are assuming are going to be the long-term career path for your average worker. In fact, if you're in a minimum wage job after 60 years or 50 years of working, there is a problem with what's going on. But let's talk about the other side of the coin, and that is the destruction of jobs. A report out of the Hoover Institution last week confirms what we told you would happen. Headline: California loses nearly 10,000 fast food jobs after $20 minimum wage signed last fall. And remember, Assembly Bill 1287 was signed into law in September, but it took effect in April, just a few weeks ago, April 2024. But what the industry did in anticipation of those labor costs spiking is they immediately thinned the workforce and implemented a variety of technologies as well as shifted jobs around. There are some fast food restaurants that have the order taker, when you drive through the drive-through, actually routed to a worker in another state earning less money. And of course, all of the fast food restaurants are trying to implement automation and new technology, robotics, artificial intelligence to actually replace jobs. So we have 10,000 jobs destroyed. We've got menu prices going up. Are you happy, Democrat politicians? You idiots. Economically, you are ruining the state of California. You are hurting workers. But these politicians don't understand economics. They don't actually care about the impact to working families. They're doing the bidding of their masters, the labor union bosses who scream jump, and these politicians in heat ask how high. And that's why we want to cover this story happening down in San Diego. And this is something that we're tracking statewide. San Diego hotel workers held a rally for a $25 minimum wage on International Workers' Day, which is May 1st. They're running around demanding a higher wage be imposed, irrespective of what the labor market can actually sustain. $25 an hour. And we've seen similar ordinances and laws, local laws applied across the state. Long Beach just had a voter-approved initiative that increased the minimum wage to $23, and it's going to be going to $28 in the next several years. This entire push is a job-killing movement. And they know that it's killing jobs. They know that it's increasing prices. The reason why the unions are pushing for minimum wage increases is very simple. They have union contracts that are benchmarked and tied to whatever the minimum wage is, they then get their union contracts are a formula, a percentage higher than that. And so they're looking not out for the entry level jobs. They're looking for a payday for themselves, an increase at your expense. And you know darn well that the jobs will be removed, they will be eliminated. And that means that less entry level jobs means that the workers trying to get that first job, that experience of a lifetime, to determine whether they like a career, to get their foot in the door, those opportunities are destroyed. The next story I want to bring you is a little bit of good news, and that is we've been pushing back against this emphasis on density and removal of local housing control. Democrats in Sacramento want to strip your local city council, your local county board of any authority when it comes to approving housing projects. A variety of laws have been implemented across the state of California. SB 9 and SB 10 are two of the worst laws. That basically, SB 9 says that if you have a single family home zoned, that's now going to be eliminated. Single family zoning across the state of California will be eliminated under SB 9. It allows anyone to buy a plot of land zoned for a single family home and subdivide it into four new units. And SB 10 says that if that plot of land is anywhere near transit, and transit is very broadly defined, they can subdivide that single family home plot for 10 units. And it contains language called the builder's remedy, which says that if a city isn't meeting the housing goals set by the state, which are arbitrary and are not tied to any sustainability or local support, if a city isn't meeting its housing quota set by state bureaucrats, unelected state bureaucrats, that builders can just simply say, I don't have to ask the city council for a building permit. I get to build whatever I want. That's SB 9 and 10. That's the very destructive philosophy that we're fighting against. There's no doubt that we need more housing in California. Housing prices are very high. But the way to get more affordable housing is to make California attractive to housing investment again. You think rent control makes us attractive to housing investment? No. Nobody wants to invest in California because you don't respect private property rights. And so you're not having housing developments built here. Try building with the labor laws and the cost of operating in California. It's exponentially more expensive here than any other state in the country. And so these politicians aren't interested in having more affordable housing. They're interested in robbing us of local control. Well, a trial court has ruled that SB 9 does not apply to charter school cities. This is important because SB 9 is a statewide law, and it was presumably applied to all cities and counties. But under the state constitution, some cities can declare themselves to be charter cities, and they have their own local constitution or charter. California general law cities are general law cities. They derive their authority from state statutes. But charter cities have much more flexibility and self-governing rights. And that's going to make things much more attractive for cities to become charter cities versus general law cities. A partial win, yes. We still think that SB 9 and SB 10 are way intrusive into local control, and we need to repeal them. That's not the way to provide for better housing in the state of California, by stripping local neighborhoods of input and decision making. But this is a very important court case. If you live in a charter city, make sure your city council members know, because they can either choose voluntarily to comply with SB 9 or 10, or as a charter city, they can say, nope, we're going to do things our way. Another big ruling this week is on parents' rights. In a lawsuit involving the Parents' Right to Know movement, this is where parents groups are saying, hey, we have a right to know what's going on with our children. Schools can't keep secrets from us about what's going on with our children. Um, the state of California Department of Education has issued guidelines to school districts encouraging administrators and teachers not to tell parents when a student is exploring, gender identity and whatnot. Um, well, in a series of lawsuits that have been filed in both state and federal court, this entire reckless policy is being challenged. And in a court case this week, the Attorney General for California, Rob Bonta, filed a brief where he basically admitted that the guidelines issued by the State Department of Education instructing administrators to keep secrets from parents, that those are not enforceable. And I'm going to read, this is the Attorney General's specific brief on this topic. Quote, to answer your question about who has enforcement power over those guidelines, those are non-enforceable guidelines, so there's no one on the state who's actually going to enforce those guidelines. And to the extent that EUSD believed it had to follow those guidelines as a mandate of state law, that is just an incorrect assumption. Interesting. But this is part of the scam in California. Let me explain. The state of California knows something that it's about to propose is patently illegal. It violates the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution, 14th Amendment, provides parents with due process rights. And the Supreme Court has repeatedly ruled that parents have absolute authority over the affairs of their children. Children do not have a right of privacy. They don't have a right of action. Parents have the right of privacy on behalf of their children. Parents have the right of action. And so numerous court cases have held that. It is crystal clear from case law. Because the state of California lawyers knew this, they put together guidelines that seemed to be commands, but now they're saying, oh, no, far from it. We're just saying this is our suggestion, that the local schools can do what they would like to do. This is the weaponization of state guidelines. And I've seen it as a city council member. I've seen it as an outside reformer, where state bureaucrats come in and say, well, this is what we recommend and you should follow state guidelines. And then you get the school district attorney, a bureaucrat, usually a liberal bureaucrat, or you get politicians who hide behind the guidelines and they say, well, we're just following state guidelines. Yeah, unenforceable state guidelines that are suggestions, not commands. This is part of the scam to deprive you of transparency and accountability. Because hiding behind so-called mandates is the biggest trick in the book, where lawyers will tell school board members, and a lot of school board members might be well-intentioned, but the lawyer manipulates. The bureaucracy manipulates your elected officials into believing that they have no choice but to implement a bat-blank crazy far left-wing policy. But then when they're sued, they say, oh, heaven forbid, we didn't require this to happen, because they know that they are going to lose the court case. And so we know that these mandates are dangerous to children. We also know that these mandates are against the law. Now the Attorney General for the state of California has admitted these mandates are unenforceable. Mere suggestions, not enforceable directives. Will the media report on this? Of course not, because they're in on the scam. They want people to think that the parents' right to know movement is somehow against the law. It's somehow not supported and it's not legitimate. When in fact, the parent right to know movement is a constitutionally protected and guaranteed right. And we ought to honor that right. At Reform California, we are constantly trying to elect better state legislators and school board members and city council members who will fight these intrusive mandates, whether it's to rip the parents' constitutionally protected rights to know and govern the affairs of their children away, or those housing bills I just talked about, We need local elected officials who are going to stand up and fight for our local control and our constitutional rights. At Reform California, we've got our voter guide that we are putting together for the general election. If you notice at our voter guide, we have a lot of local positions like school board, city council, county board, where we don't have a qualified candidate yet who's submitted an application for an endorsement. If you're interested in running for any office, we want to help you. We want to listen to your thoughts and potentially support you with our endorsement and putting you on our voter guide. Contact us by going to our website, reformcalifornia.org. That's reformcalifornia.org. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.